Thank you to everyone for attending tonight's meeting of the San Bruno Community Foundation Board of Directors. We are in person at San Bruno Recreation and Aquatic Center, and we welcome members of the public who are attending via Zoom. We appreciate your patience if we have any technical hiccups. We ask speakers to speak loudly and clearly so that the OWL camera can pick you up and that our online guests, as well as everyone in the room, can hear you well. A couple of technical items before we get to the content of tonight's meeting. Please know that we want to hear from you. Members of the public who are here at the Recreation and Aquatic Center in person, if you would like to speak during public comment for items within the jurisdiction of the board that are not on the agenda or in any of the agendized items, please fill out one of the speaker cards that is on the table near the door. If you are attending on Zoom and you would like to address the board during public comment for items not on the agenda or any agendized items, please use the raise your hand button at the bottom of the Zoom screen. Once you raise your hand, the executive director will see that someone wants to talk and she will let you know that you are waiting. When it is your turn to speak, the executive director will call your name and unmute you. If you are joining us by telephone, you may also address the board during public comment by pressing *9, and the executive director will address you and unmute you. Speakers will be given 3 minutes to address the board. Please note that individuals may only speak once per agenda item. We have received one written public comment related to item 7A on the agenda. All board members have received a copy and copies of have been made available to the public. Let's begin the meeting. I now call the regular meeting of the San Bruno Community Foundation's Board of Directors of March 4th, 2026 to order. Item number 2, I will turn it over to Secretary Gomez for roll call.
Thank you, President Antonio Jones. Board Member Supriya Perry.
Here.
Board Member Jessica Inglima.
Here.
Board Member Larry Franzoa. Here. Treasurer Belinda Wong.
Here.
Secretary Raul Gomez is present. Vice President Jim Roy. Here. President Melissa Natani Jones.
Here.
All accounted for.
Thank you. Item number 3, public comment. Would any members of the public like to address the board on a topic that is within the jurisdiction of the board but is not on the agenda? For those on Zoom, please indicate so by using the raise your hand button at the bottom of the Zoom screen.
There are no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, thank you. Item number 4, I will turn it over to Secretary Gomez.
Thank you. So in your meeting packet tonight, meeting minutes from our February 4th, 2026 regular board meeting. Do any board members have any questions?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any comments from the public?
There are no hands raised.
Okay, if there are no questions or comments, may I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. Second.
I'll turn it over to Secretary Gomez for a roll call vote, please.
Thank you. Board Member Supriya Perry.
Aye.
Board Member Jessica Inglima.
Aye.
Board Member Larry Franzoa. Aye. Treasurer Belinda Wong.
Aye.
Secretary Raul Gomez is an aye. Vice President Jim Roy. Aye. President Melissa Natani Jones.
Aye,
All ayes.
thank you. Item number 5, Executive Director's Report. I will turn it over to Leslie.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Good to see you. The packet included my written report. I just want to highlight a few items for you. First, on the insurance policy renewals, on the consent calendars, the resolution authorizing the executive director to bind a new directors and officers liability insurance policy, as the current policy expires on March 21st. So that the board always approves that one because it is D&O insurance. Our commercial general liability, property, cyber liability, and non-owned hired auto liability insurance policies, which are bundled together with the Philadelphia insurance companies, as well as our workers' compensation insurance policy with the Hartford, are also up for renewal on March 21st. For the commercial bundle, our current insurer offered a renewal package with a total premium of $1,300, which is just $29 more than last year. And under my contract authority as executive director, I am renewing this policy. For the workers' compensation policy, the Hartford has renewed the foundation's policy with an estimated total premium of $969, which is $94 more than last year. We had seen some decreases, so this was the first sort of bump up, which we weren't exactly sure why. But we are renewing that as well. Both policies will go into effect on March 21st. Also want to mention that with regard to item 6B in the consent calendar, it's a resolution authorizing our president to execute a contract with Novogradac for audit and tax prep services for an amount not to exceed $11,700. The staff memo mentioned that we were still negotiating language in the contract that Novogradac had requested regarding the use of AI in work product. With the assistance of our counsel at Heather's firm, we've come to an agreement with Novogradac on that language. We actually got that ironed out today. And both counsel and I are comfortable with the agreed upon final language. So if the board does approve the resolution as part of the consent calendar, it's ready for President Natani Jones to sign. And I want to thank Heather and her colleagues for helping us with that. So the first time sort of AI related language has come into contracts, which I anticipate we'll be seeing more of. Ethics requirements. Thank you to those of you who have gotten all of your ethics paperwork in, your Form 700s, conflict of interest, annual affirmations, and your AB 1, 2, 3, 4 ethics training done. Just a reminder, if you haven't gotten your Form 700 done yet, you've got 1 month to get it in by April 1st to the city clerk. Also want to alert you to a new requirement as a result of the new law SB 827. Under this new law, which just took effect, one, we have to post on our website how members of the public can request your ethics training records. So I've posted that on our website that they can contact the city clerk's office. It also creates a new requirement for 2 hours of fiscal and financial training. And this applies to me as the ED, all board members, and likely our investment committee members as well. Larry, as a new board member, lucky you, you have to complete it first by July 1st, and then once every 2 years. The rest of us who had already been on board have to complete it by January 1st, 2028. So we have quite a while to do that, and then every 2 years. I'm looking, it's brand new, it's a brand new requirement, so there aren't that many training courses available yet. So I'm looking into what's available, what the cost is to try to find the most cost effective, seeing what the city is doing. And then I will get back to you about what opportunities we have to do that. And then the last thing I just wanted to let you know, the Alliance of Community Foundations, which we are a part of, it's organized by the Silicon Valley Community Foundation. It meets quarterly. I participate in those meetings. We are actually hosting the next meeting on March 20th here at the RAC. Everyone was really excited to see the facility because I keep talking about it. And so we're able to showcase it, which I think is a great opportunity for other groups to come in and see it and possibly use it themselves. But that is my report.
Awesome. Are there any comments from the public regarding the executive director's report?
I don't see any hands raised.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, that concludes the executive director's report. Thank you so much, Leslie. Item number 6, consent calendar. We have 5 items on the consent calendar today as listed in the agenda. Adopt resolution authorizing executive director to buy directors and officers liability insurance policy from Travelers Casualty and Surety Company of America for an amount not to exceed $7,833. B, adopt resolution authorizing President Melissa Natania Jones to execute a professional services agreement with Novogradac and Company LLP for audit and tax preparation services for fiscal year 25-26 for an amount not to exceed $11,700. C, resolution authorizing remote teleconference meetings for the investment committee pursuant to Senate Bill 707 and Government Code sections 4953.8 and 54953.8.6. D, adopt resolution adjusting executive director's compensation. E, receive and approve treasurer's report from January 26 financial statements. With regard to item 6D, adopt resolution adjusting executive director's compensation. State law requires all public agencies to orally announce a summary of the terms of recommended executive compensation adjustments before voting on them. In recognition of her outstanding service to the foundation, Executive Director Leslie Hadamia will receive a one-year increase in the foundation's pre-tax employer contribution to her 403B retirement plan from 5% to 10% of her salary for the period beginning February 1st, 2026 and ending January 31st, 2027. Her salary will remain the same and there will be no other changes to her compensation at this time. Would any members of the public like to comment on any of the consent items?
No hands are raised.
Okay. Are there any questions from the board regarding consent? Okay. If there are no questions, I call for a motion to adopt the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, I'll turn it over to Secretary Gomez for a roll call vote.
Thank you. Board Member Supriya Perry.
Aye.
Board Member Jessica Nguema.
Aye.
Board Member Larry Franzoa.
Aye.
Treasurer Belinda Long.
Aye.
Secretary Raul Gomez. Vice President Jim Roy.
Aye.
And President Melissa Natani Jones.
Aye,
All ayes.
thank you. You can take some for this next part. Block reading, okay. Item number 7, conduct of business. Receive report from the Ad hoc Committee on Strategic Planning and adopt resolution approving a transfer of $2 million from the strategic pool to the quasi-endowment pool specifically earmarked for the San Bruno Park School District's outdoor education program with annual payout beginning in fiscal year 27-28, designated to support the outdoor education program and an additional strategic grant to the San Bruno Education Foundation in an amount not to exceed $160,000 to support the outdoor education program for the 25-26 and 26-27 school years. As committee chair, I will make this report. Thank you to Vice President Ruane and Secretary Gomez for also serving on this committee. There are 2 parts to this agenda item today. First, I will give an update from the committee on the various legacy projects we have been investigating. Second, I will present a proposal from the committee for the foundation to provide long-term funding for San Bruno Park School District's outdoor education program as one of our final legacy projects, and the board will consider a resolution approving funding for the outdoor education program. I'll begin with the update from the committee. As the committee has reported previously, it is focusing on researching and monitoring a small number of potential final legacy projects for the board to consider. As you know, in January, the board approved one of these final legacy projects, additional grant funding for the permanent lighting as part of the Crestmore Fields project. With the board's action in January, we committed just under $2 million for our remaining net assets for the lights at the Crestmore Fields. Last May, the board expressed its plan to use the bulk of the foundation's remaining total net assets to support the city's plans to replace Fire Station number 52, and the city council agreed to having the foundation serve as a funding partner on this project. The initial issue for the project is determining the location of the new fire station. Further work on this project, including beginning the design process, is on hold until the site is confirmed. The city has been in discussions with Caltrans to obtain its preferred site for the new fire station at the corner of Skyline Boulevard and San Bruno Avenue, either through a land swap or outright purchase. As reported last month, progress on the potential land acquisition has been slow, with no new developments to report this month. The foundation may receive a new request from the city for legacy project funding for renovations to the San Bruno Senior Center. The city council recently made the senior center renovations one of its priorities for 2026. The most urgently needed renovations include improvements to the lobby, kitchen, and restrooms, along with new interior paint and blinds. The estimated cost for this base project is $1.8 million. The city is also considering a second set of improvements that are less urgent but will likely be needed in the next several years, including replacement of the roof, HVAC upgrades, landscape improvements, and improved outdoor storage. The total cost for all renovations is currently estimated at $5 million. The city is working with consultants to finish the design and obtain more detailed and accurate cost estimates for each improvement. The city council will then decide which portions of the renovations it wants to tackle at this time and how the city will pay for them. Options could include launching a capital campaign and requesting SBCF grant funding, possibly in the $1 million range. Jim, Leslie, and I have communicated to the city staff a willingness to consider such a request as part of the foundation's process of identifying final legacy projects, as we believe that a meaningful investment in the senior center is consistent with the foundation's mission, program strategy framework, and desire to spend down the remaining funds on significant legacy projects. We have also made it clear to the city that any funds designated for the senior center renovations would come from the remaining net assets that would otherwise go toward the fire station replacement project. Before we begin discussing the next final legacy project to benefit San Bruno Park School District's outdoor education program, I would like to note that board member Inglima is recusing herself from consideration of the resolution before the board. Board member Inglima.
Yes, so as you all know, my two children are in the San Bruno Park School District. I'm currently a fourth grader and a second grader. So they may in the future participate in the outdoor ed program when they're fifth graders. So I'm recusing myself from this item to avoid any conflict of interest. And if my children do attend outdoor ed as San Bruno Park School District students in the future, I will pay the cost of that would have been covered by our community foundation. Yeah, I think that covers it. I'll go ahead and leave the room while you all discuss, so let me know when I can come back.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Let me explain the committee's recommendation and the resolution before the board. As you know, in February, the ad hoc committee presented a preliminary proposal to provide long-term funding to support the district's outdoor education program. As we explained, Outdoor Ed is an award-winning one-week overnight camp run by the San Mateo County Office of Education in cooperation with local schools throughout the county and the San Francisco YMCA camp in the Santa Cruz Mountains. Today, about 200 San Bruno Park School District fifth graders and their teachers participate in the program each year. For many San Bruno students, Outdoor Ed is a transformative milestone experience that not only develops in them an appreciation for the natural world, but also nurtures their self-confidence, self-esteem, and independence. It's also an expensive program. Direct payments from students, families, and fundraisings by the PTA are needed to cover a $550 per student program fee and transportation costs. The committee presented a preliminary proposal to the board in February. We received strong public support for the proposal, both in terms of written public comment and speakers at the meeting. Board members also expressed support for the proposal and asked whether the proposed grant amount for the current school year was sufficient. With that feedback and additional budget information provided by Superintendent Matt Duffy, who is with us tonight to answer any questions, the committee met this past month to refine our proposal, and today the committee is recommending that the board approve a resolution that would do two things. One, transfer $2 million to the SBCF strategic pool to its quasi-endowment, specifically earmarked for San Bruno Park School District outdoor education program. Starting in the 27-28 fiscal school year, each year the board will determine the expected quasi-endowment payout as part of the annual budget process and then award a grant of approximately $100,000 adjusted for the inflation from the quasi-endowment payout to the San Bruno Education Foundation for the outdoor education program. The board will reserve the right to adjust the amount of each year's grant payment based on the district's program budget and quasi-endowment performance and other relevant factors. 2, award a $160,000 strategic grant to SBEF to support outdoor education in the 25-26 $60,000 and 26-27 $100,000 school years. With regard to the first provision, upon the board's approval of the proposal, the executive director would instruct Sand Hill to revive the foundation's quasi-endowment account and transfer $2 million from the strategic pool to the quasi-endowment. Sand Hill would manage the received quasi-endowment in accordance with the foundation's investment policy statement and investment operating plan. In addition, starting with the 27-28 fiscal school year, as part of the budget process, each year the board would determine the expected quasi-endowment payout for the next fiscal year, and then over the summer, formally approve the specific dollar amount of that year's grant of SBEF for the outdoor education program. The foundation would target an annual grant of about $100,000 adjusted for inflation, but it might slightly tweak the amount of each year's grant payment based on the district program's budget, the quasi-endowment performance, and other relevant factors. If and when the foundation sunsets operations, the board at that time can consider how to distribute the funds in the quasi-endowment earmarked for outdoor education. We are taking no action on that piece today. With regard to the second provision, the committee is recommending that the grant amount for the current school year be increased from $40,000 to the preliminary proposal to $60,000. Based on the updated budget provided by the superintendent, the district needs an additional $71,251 to cover this year's program expenses. A $60,000 grant would leave a balance of $11,251 to be covered by additional fundraising and or direct payments from student families. If it were to be paid entirely by equal direct payments from student families, each of the 198 students' families would be responsible for approximately $57, although the district might choose to provide a larger subsidy for low-income students. A small family contribution is consistent with the overall spirit of this initiative, which is to substantially but not completely underwrite the outdoor education program. The committee and the superintendent agreed that participating students and their families should make at least a minor contribution to the program costs. The committee also notes that a $60,000 grant this year is comparable to a $100,000 SBCF contribution in a typical year, as program expenses are about $20,000 lower than expected, and the district is able to contribute $20,000 in community school grant funding this year, which it will not be able to sustain in future years. The resolution specifically requires that the grant agreement for the $160,000 grant and the grant agreement for any other year in which board member in Glima or any other interested person, as defined in the SBCF conflict of interest policy, has a child in the 5th grade, contain a term prohibiting any portion of the grant funds from being used to subsidize or reduce the amount that they would otherwise pay for their child to attend the outdoor education program. Council Heather Minner recommended this term to ensure that board member Jessica Nglima and other future board member with a child in the San Bruno Park School District will not have a financial interest in a foundation grant to support the outdoor education program. Before we hear comments from the public and the board, let me mention that as of January 31st, 2025, the amount available for the final legacy projects was nearly $22 million based on total net assets and a $5 million reservation for ongoing operating expenses. The recently approved Crestmore Field Light grant funding reduced that amount by nearly $2 million to just over $20 million. A commitment of $2.16 million for the outdoor education program will leave a balance of about $17.9 million for their fire station number 52 and any other final legacy projects. This balance, of course, may fluctuate based on the performance of the foundation's investment portfolio and its impact on total net assets. Superintendent Duffy, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, I'm just here to say another thank you. Big word is spreading about this gift and people are really, really excited. Someone asked me, well, can counselors now go? Because we could use a counselor, and I said, well, we'll see. But people are really excited, so thank you very much again.
Now we'd like to give members of the public an opportunity to speak on this item. Are there any comments from the public?
There are no hands raised.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay. May I have a motion to adopt the resolution approving a transfer of $2 million from the strategic pool to the quasi endowment pool, specifically earmarked for the San Bruno Park School District's outdoor education program, with annual payout beginning in fiscal year 27-28, designated to support the outdoor education program, and an additional strategic grant to the San Bruno Education Foundation in an amount not to exceed $160,000 to support the outdoor education program for the 25-26 and 26-27 school year.
So move. Second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes this item. I need a roll call.
Thank you. Board member Supriya Perry.
Aye.
Board member Jessica, Board member Larry Frenzel. Aye. Treasurer Belinda Wong.
Aye.
Secretary Raul Gomez is an aye. Vice President Jim Ruane. Aye. President Melissa Natani Jones.
Aye. That really concludes this. Very nice. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Gosh, it's always been Great. Good stuff.
Okay, moving on to item B, receive report on programs. I will turn it over to Leslie.
And,
Oh, sorry.
sorry, should the minutes reflect the board member and the staff?
I have noted it.
Perfect, thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you, yes.
I just have a very short programs report since not too much has happened in the past month. First on the Crestmore Fields project, the city is still negotiating with Toll Brothers, the contractor, on its improvement agreement to build the fields. So they're hopeful that that will get resolved soon, but it has not yet. So we're waiting for them to execute that before then we do our amendment to the grant agreement. So that is on hold until that happens. This has delayed the project a little bit because they had hoped to have that agreement executed actually a couple months ago. So we'll see what that does to the construction schedule. The Narita Sister City program grants, as you know, the big new fundraising dinner, the Narita Supporters Dinner, is this Saturday. Our president will be on the speaking program for that event.
Yeah.
And that event is underwritten in part by our grant. We gave them sustainability funding so they could develop some additional funding sources, so that when our funds sunset, they have developed some other sponsorship and fundraising activities to keep the program going. The Narita delegation this year will be here in San Bruno, March 25th through 30th. There's a one big public event that they're doing here at the rack outside on Friday, the 27th. There'll be taco drumming, free ice cream, and that's one where they're trying to invite, the broader community to participate in the exchange program, since most of the other activities are really focused at Parkside or with city staff. So feel free to invite people in the community to that event. 3 p.m. that's on actually Saturday the 28th, I'm sorry, 3 p.m. And then on the community grants fund, so we're trying to wrap up the last set of community grants that were awarded in December 2024 to be spent in 2025. Grant reports were due on March 1st for those grants. 22 are in. I am doing my best to get the remaining stragglers in quickly. I've had contact with all but I think 2, so I know most are in process. But once those grant reports are in, we will have finally concluded the community grants fund. And that is my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the public?
No hands are raised.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Yeah.
Unless there are no further comments from the board, that concludes that report on other programs. Thank you, Leslie. C, receive report from investment committee on its February 23rd, 26th special meeting. As chair of the investment committee, Treasurer Wong will provide this report.
Thank you. The investment committee meeting was held on February 23rd as our quarterly meeting. And the meeting was relatively short. We only have 2 business items. The first was the report from Sandhill Global Advisors regarding the firm's investment outlook and the foundation's investment portfolio performance. In this item, the senior wealth manager, Kristen Sun, gave an overview of the firm's investment outlook, noting that the economy remains resilient despite a cooling of the labor market, especially for younger workers. She noted that market volatility resurfaced in the final quarter of 2025 as concerns about a potential AI bubble moved to the forefront, while corporate earnings continue to exceed expectations. As of December 31st, 2025, the foundation's 2 investment accounts had the balance of $30,004,134 for the strategic pool and $2,440,406 for the liquidity pool, for a total of roughly $32.4 million in both accounts. In reviewing the portfolio balance update, the Sandhill team noted that the total withdrawals from the portfolio since inception has been about $62.1 million to support our long list of community benefits, including the RAC, with $25.2 million in total value added since inception. The second item for the committee was the foundation's cash flow strategies related to the funding of future or our final legacy project grants. This is an item that is regular on our agenda until all funds is needed to cover the final projects are transferred from our strategic pool to the liquidity pool. Since the board has not yet formally awarded any grants related to the fire station and staff is not expecting any significant cash needs for the Crestmore Fields grant for the rest of this fiscal year, the committee did not consider any guidance related to movement of the investment funds from the strategic to the liquidity pool related to the final legacy project. Those are our 2 items. Our next committee meeting will be on Wednesday, May 20th. And that concludes the report.
Thank you so much, Belinda. Are there any questions or comments from the public?
No hands are raised.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
No.
Unless there are no further comments from the board, that concludes the investment committee report. Thank you so much, Belinda. Item number 8, board member comments. Would any board members like to make a comment?
Yeah.
Okay. Unless there are any further comments from the board, that concludes this agenda item. Item number 9, may I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So
Second.
Okay, that was so exciting. We are adjourned. Our next regular meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, April 1st, 2026, 7 p.m. If we don't have any pressing business in April, we may cancel that meeting, and the next regular meeting will be Wednesday, May 6th, 2026, 7 p.m. Same place.
Thank you.